Love a good coffee. Hey, good morning. So, Jeff Not Dead Yet Adventures here. Going through my hard drives. This is February 2025. February 2025. So, I've been on a little escapade the last 6 months. Haven't been doing much on my channel. And I'm going through my hard drives, trying to clear them all off, trying to consolidate and, cull, I guess is the right word. And I found a bunch of footage, like nearly a terabyte and a half of footage from a side trip I took back in 2022. So in order for you to understand the next few videos, let me rehash a few things for you. Bucket list on a budget is an idea I came up with back in 2019. 2018, I started traveling. I ended up in the Philippines, and then 2019, I made multiple trips to the Philippines. At the end of 2019, I made a pivotal trip, and it was because I came up with this idea of bucket list on a budget. I had carved my budget in California to where I could afford a weekend trip about every month or 2 months in California. And then I realized that, hey, the same price I can go to, any place in California, I could fly to Vegas, spend the weekend there, and fly home, and it would cost less because the hotel prices and everything. That was 2018. So then I came home from that second trip to Vegas, and I went, well, where else can I go? And I started exploring the internet, started spending a lot of time on budgets, started spending a lot of time researching, and I realized, shit, I could get to the Philippines and back for just a little more than I went to Vegas. And then that opened the door. So after a year of doing a lot of research, a lot of budgeting in my head, a lot of budgeting on paper, a lot of research doing pricing and everything, I realized that the biggest expense I was spending was traveling to and from the Philippines. And how do I cut that down, right? Well, I just moved to the Philippines. And then once you're in the Philippines, you can travel so many places on a $200 budget. A $200 plane ride will get you a round trip to so many places that I wanted to see, I hadn't seen yet. So this idea, crazy idea, popped in my head. Bucket list on a budget is, instead of paying rent in California, just pay rent in the Philippines. I'm going to save money there. I'm already working a really tight budget to travel, right? Prioritizing travel in my budget over most other daily things, right? And then I came up with this plan, bucket list on a budget, and was just live in the Philippines and travel side trips out of there. Well, we all know about the lockdowns. I made my last trip to the Philippines in that time frame in 2020, in February 2020. And then we know what happened after that, right? I just barely got home. Like, Korea was locking down as I came through Korea. So I got home and everything changed, right? But that last trip, I proved my hypothesis. I went to the Philippines, I made a side trip to Bali, came back to the Philippines, and then came home. And that side trip was easy, cheap, really, really cheap. And so, I proved the theory, proved the idea, right? And then the lockdown happened, and then I was desperate to get out of California. It was driving me crazy. So I ended up in the Azores, and my new plan, because of the Europe SageN, everything was still locked down in Asia, but in Europe it was starting to open up. And in the SageN, or I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, treaty is you get 90 days in, 90 days out. So my plan was to spend 90 days in, 90 days out, and that would put me on a 3-month rotation. So the idea was, the first month I moved someplace, I saved. Second month I go on a side trip. And the third month I save and move to a new location. And that would be in and out of the SageN. So I keep the 90-day window, right, rolling. It's a rolling 90 days. So as long as you're out 90 days, you can come back for 90 days. And that was my plan. So a 3-month slow roll, right? And I started to do that, and it was great. This is my first side trip. When I started the bucket list on a budget, I started to implement it in full force. This was my first side trip. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through with some photos today, and then I'm going to do separate little videos of everywhere I went, and then wrap it up. So this will be like 4 or 5 videos in total. But what I did is I was I found a house sitting gig on the Azores, Ponta Delgata. That's a city or island, I don't know. But I was in the Azores, and part of the house sitting was I had to leave for 10 days. So it worked out perfect for me to test this theory, right? So from there, I went to Lisbon. I spent the day in Lisbon, and then I flew to Venice. Venice really sucked. I didn't enjoy Venice. Then I went south from Venice to Corfu, and then I took the ferry across to Saranda. I really wanted to get to Albania because I was thinking Albania was my next stop, and I wanted to kind of test that out, right? I wanted to like see if that's someplace I wanted to hang out for a while. And then from Albania, my plans changed quite a bit, and then I went back to Italy. I took a ferry to Bari, and then from Bari I went up to Porto. So, and then from Porto, I spent a few days in Porto, and then I went back to Ponta Delgata. So I'm going to kind of break all that out in their own separate little videos. And a lot of this, like I said, a long time ago on one of my early videos, a lot of this is just for me to, remember where I've been and the fun times I've had. And, it's the other side of that is, I want to show people if I can do this, you can do it. If I can live the best season of my life, you can too. And it's a matter of just finding what you want and pursuing it. And pursuing it with a different level of vigor or passion or dedication than what you've been doing up until now. If you're not happy with the way things are, change. And if an old dog like me can change, you can too. If somebody who barely passed high school can wander the world on a small budget, you definitely can too. If I can go from the worst season of my life to the best season of my life, in under a year, you can too. And, that's a big part of any message I would like to put out there is if I can do it, you can probably do it better. If I can do YouTube, you can probably do YouTube better. If I can travel, you can probably travel better. But this is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm loving my life. I've made a lot of changes in my life in the last 5 years. And, everything's gotten better, 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 better. Yeah, I've had the ups and downs just like everybody. I've had the problems. I've had the issues. I've had the, whatever. But, life gets really good when you decide to get off the couch, throw the microwave in the trash, and, get out and see the world. I struggle when I meet people with this downer attitude because, I used to be that guy, and I know you don't have to live that way. So if you want to follow along, great. There will be more coming about what I've been doing this year, but right now I'm just kind of culling my hard drives, like I said, and I want to take all this random fragments, put it together in something that is somewhat digestible for me in the future and put it out there, and then I'll move on to what I'm doing this year. I've got I got so many stories. Every day of my life, nearly every day of my life is a fabulous story I'd like to share with people. But, it's too much, right? It's too much. So I'm going to go over this bucket list on a budget idea in these videos and kind of show you, how it worked for me, how it started. And then eventually, you can go back and look at some of my other videos. They're all just kind of random. So my goal this year with YouTube is to kind of make it more linear, more digestible, have it make more sense, because I've just been kind of posting random shit everywhere, and like I said in video recently, the last thing on my mind at the end of the day is YouTube. I'm more active out doing other things, enjoying life in the real world than I am on YouTube or online. If I could encourage anybody to do anything, is live more in the real world and less online, right? Less on social media and less here, less there. The real world is where the real perks and benefits and rewards come from. And I just can't stress that enough. So anyway, the next video hopefully will be about me leaving the Azores and traveling to somewhere. We'll see. We'll see where I cut it off. I'm going to kind of break it up, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.